Welcome to the Bounty 0x podcast. I'm your host, Angelo Adam, founder and CEO of Bounty 0x. Bounty 0x is a decentralized bounty hunting network powered by the BNTY token. Today's June 26, 2018. My guest on the show is MillonT. Louis is the CTO and co-founder of Universal Reward Protocol. He has an engineering degree and Masters of Engineering from École Polytechnique in Paris and UC Berkeley. His work experience previously, before starting Universal Reward Protocol, was at Parrot and Autolibre, one of the biggest car sharing services in France. Universal Reward Protocol started out of a research project from École Polytechnique and UC Berkeley. Universal Reward Protocol is a blockchain-based protocol where retailers can reward shoppers for multiple behaviors like simply visiting the store. And by accepting to share their shopping data with the network, a shopper earns reward tokens while the data is used by retailers to build a redemption offers that best suits each customer's needs. Shoppers can then redeem their tokens through these exclusive and personalized offers. So, Louis, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, what is wrong with the shopping experience currently, and how can it be improved?
Okay, so we worked with a lot of retailers for the past 3 years, and in our experience, the shopping experience currently lacks personalization. So all the brands and the retailers want to know the consumer better, to be able to be the one who satisfy your needs. The thing is, it's hard to know people. Currently, they have two ways of doing that, either by building a loyalty program, but then they can only know about people who are already purchasing their products, not about potential customers, or they buy data in bulk from Facebook, Google, etc., to try and target you, but then it's not really personalized. And loyalty programs themselves have several problems. We can get into that later, but we think we can do much better by leveraging blockchain and building a universal reward program that targets not only the purchasing behavior, but all types of shopping behavior, including visiting stores, browsing online, posting on social media, so that the customer enters a more transparent and direct relationship with the brand that they want to interact with and actually consents to share data with them directly.
So the examples that you mentioned of the different types of shopping data, they vary quite substantially. So in-store shopping, online shopping, what are the challenges of each of those approaches to tracking the user data, depending on those different two types of data types?
Okay, yeah. So first of all, the protocol itself is simply about building an infrastructure that allows different type of decentralized application to implement the protocol and to analyze a different type of shopping behavior for that. But the protocol itself is not about collecting or the product we'll build won't collect or analyze any shopping. But to answer your question, I think we've developed in the past 3 years, the same team as Universal Reward Protocol, an in-store solution that analyzes the shopping behavior of consumers inside the stores. So here the challenge is that you need some kind of IoT to collect data. It's actually much easier, I think, to collect, like a simple pixel in a shopping website enables a third party to get access to a lot of data. The social networks each have different APIs. It's the challenge there is more about being able to process all the data that is generated, which is massive.
So once you have collected this data and let's say imported it, or the app has now access to various types of data from in-store data or in-store or online shopping data, then what is the next step in the process?
Okay, so once the shopper has consented to a reward campaign and this consent has been posted on the blockchain, then the decentralized applications are notified. And let's say the campaign was for in-store behavior, for example, and the several decentralized applications on the protocol that can analyze and collect in-store data will be notified. This shopper is added to the whitelist and they start collecting it. And their goal is to produce what we call the proof of behavior, which is a proof that the shopper's behavior has fulfilled the conditions of the campaign, which is represented by a smart contract on ERP. So basically, The decentralized application is collecting the shopper's data, and it's constantly trying to produce at least one data point that fulfills all the conditions of the campaign. And if it's able to do so, then it notifies the smart contract, which can in turn verify the provenance of the proof of behavior, authentifies basically the proof. And once the proof is authentified by the smart contract, it releases the reward directly to the shopper.
So a store owner might come back and see this idea and say to you, well, why would I want to tell shoppers what I want them to do? What is the benefit from the perspective of a store owner to tell shoppers how to behave? Doesn't the store owner just want shoppers to come in and doesn't really have any preference as to what behaviors they take? Why would it be in the interest of a store owner to be able to reward specific behaviors?
That's a very good question. We think that different types of retailers in terms of specialization of products sold, the size of the retailer will change the use cases they're interested in. Obviously, the first macro, let's say, behavior that retailers are interested in incentivizing is just simply walking past, like walking in the door, entering the store. That's the first type of behavior that they want people to do. And then inside the store, more micro behaviors. Let's say one of our clients, it's a large hypermarket chain in France, and they have basically the store is in two parts. There's the food sections of the store, and there's the non-food. And what they observe is that the non-food sections are suffering a lot more currently than the food sections, because people have to buy food and they go to the hypermarket to do that generally, but they don't buy TVs anymore. They don't buy fridges, whatever, electronics, etc. So, but the store has good deals in a way. It's just people still prefer to buy on Amazon. And here the retailer can be interested to redynamize, let's say, these sections of the store, these underperforming sections, to tell people, hey, why don't you check out the TV section of this hypermarket and look around a little bit to see if something interests you? Because people, it's becoming more and more of a trend for people to have the reflex to go online for these type of products, and they don't even think about checking these types of store for interesting offers. So that's an example. And we think there's several others that can emerge. And that's also why we're working with the retailers and brands to establish what types of specific use case they're interested in.
So we've talked about the type of behavior that they may want, a store would potentially want to incentivize a customer to take. So what are the types of rewards that a store could give to a consumer if they follow this, or if they take the actions that are set out by the store owner or requested?
So in Universal Reward Protocol, the type of reward is always the same. It's always under the form of the URP token. It's just a matter of how much URP token the retailer or the brand is going to give to the shopper. To give you a general idea, I read a very interesting report on a blog called Marketing Land last week, saying that to generate one incremental visit to a point of sale in the US, they typically spend $23. The retailer spends $23 to generate one incremental visit, meaning that if someone comes 5 times a year, just to make them come a 6th time, it costs more than $20. And for some specialized type of retailers, it's over $50, which means that obviously they won't take all of this budget and use it as a reward. But even if you take 10% of that or 20% of that, and you offer people a reward of $4, $2, $4 to just walk into a store, spend 5 minutes in it. If they're not interested, they can walk out and not have to buy anything, no strings attached. We think that's a very interesting value proposition to shoppers. And at the same time, it's something that retailers already have huge budget to spend on. It's very inefficient because there are a lot of intermediaries. And that's also how blockchain we think is really interesting to work with, because it allows us to remove a lot of the intermediaries that are costing retailers money to make people walk in.
So the reward is in the form of a URP token. And so tell me more about the URP token. So it's used as a reward. Retailers will be purchasing it in order to then use it to reward customers with who, perform correct behaviors. And then what can the customers do with the URP token? Why would they want, a customer might say, okay, so I've gone through and I've done all this work, or I've changed my behaviors in a way in order to earn this token. So what does it entitle them to? Does it vary on a case-by-case basis? And can each retailer specify what the URP token, the amount of URP token that each customer receives? And then what is the value of the URP token in terms of once a person owns it?
Okay, yeah. So basically it's up to the retailer or to brands to decide how much URP token they want to give out, depending on the use case and the type of interaction. It's not only about the shopper modifying their behavior, it's about them accepting to interact with the brand, basically. So I'm willing to engage with this retailer, with this brand. So yeah, the amount is totally up to the creator of the campaign. We'll obviously give them tools to try and forecast the efficiency of the campaign based on the amount of the reward. And then the value of the URP token, the utility of it to the shopper is that it gives access to these personalized offers. As we said at the beginning of the podcast, we think that what's wrong with the shopping experience is the lack of personalization. And since shoppers in URP consent to interact and to engage with a brand, then the brand gets data about them. And using this data that's been acquired, let's say very transparently, they can build a personalized offer saying, okay, I saw you were willing to spend 3 minutes in the TV section of my hypermarket or in the electronics section, which means that you have an affinity towards this product, probably. And so I can make a personalized coupon for you worth maybe €5. So let's say it's a 5% off $100 worth of products in the electronics section. And I will offer you this coupon in exchange for these tokens. So the tokens that you collected by coming to my store or engaging with other brands, because the token is universal, you can spend these tokens basically to purchase promotions or coupons. So that's in the first step, because in the long term, we want the token to be able to be used as a currency. Let's say people will be able to purchase products directly with the token, except in the short term, that's unrealistic because retailers won't integrate their checkout system with the token, even with any kind of blockchain. Let's say it's going to be a while before you can pay with Bitcoin or Ether in any type of store. That's alone with an ERC20. So in the first phase, to get the acquisition of all shoppers, we want to let them purchase the coupon, basically. And it works pretty well. It's the same reasoning as in the loyalty program. We conducted a survey last month showing that people really like reward programs. They love to collect points for doing this and that. But it's very complicated when they have 12 different types of points that they need to redeem and they don't know which one to redeem how. Here it's one kind of point. So if you engage with Starbucks on Instagram and then you go to Macy's in a store and you do this and that, you collect 1,000 different URP tokens. And then you see that there is a one given coupon worth 100 tokens. That's very interesting to you. And you get purchasing on the store. And finally, we think that the universality of the token, the fact that it's redeemable with all retailers and brands in the network, is very interesting to shoppers. And on top of that, if shoppers don't like the promotions that they're offered, that the personalized offers that they have, they can still exchange the token directly for fiat. So we'll have a button in the app allowing any person when they want to just cash out and sell all their points in exchange for money.
Where is the shopping experience going? What trends are you seeing in the shopping experience that will be developing over the next 5 to 10, 15 years in brick and mortar stores and also in online stores? Because there seems to be a change happening in people's online shopping behaviors where people are spending the majority of their online shopping, their shopping time online versus in store. Presumably this trend would continue. And so will this lead to the end of brick and mortar stores? And what benefits do people see to go in store when they can do all their shopping online?
Yeah, so that's a trend that's been going on for a while. And people have been announcing the end of brick and mortar stores for a decade now, at least. And actually, it's not happening. We don't see it happening in even the near future or the longer term, like 30 years. Because currently, people tend to forget that 90% of all sales still happen offline. So people spend longer and longer shopping online, more and more time every year. But it's simply the shopping path, let's say, that's more complicated than before. So the generation of our parents, they wanted to buy something, they just went to the store, browsed the 3 different physical stores, and then bought it. As we just tend to research online more, and then sometimes we buy online too, but people still make a lot more purchases offline. So we think that's a tremendous lever for retailers to use. The fact that people still like to touch, to feel the product, to actually, for a clothes, you like to try it on. For a TV, you want to actually look at it first. And so we think that it's the biggest trend in retail now and in the next 10 years is about integrating very intimately the online and offline experience and making it so that the shopper has a seamless experience when they're going from one channel to the other. So I have a really high level of personalization on Amazon, for example, and I can have a really high level of personalization on the online store of a given retailer. But if then I go offline and go to their store and I have zero personalization, that's really bad because it's a break in the shopping path and it leads to lower conversion rates. So we think it's about integrating the offline and the online into one seamless experience. But of course, I think shopping is continuing to move to mobile, especially. And so maybe it'll end up being 50-50, but I don't see brick and mortar stores disappearing completely.
What devices can you use to collect this data? And will you be partnering with other companies to integrate your platform into, or at least how will you be linking the data collection with your platform? Like, what partners are you working with in the space, and what are the challenges from the data collection side? I know this isn't like the area that you're focusing on, but how will you guys be working with, or will you be working with other data collection or IoT device companies?
Yeah, of course. Like currently, the solution that we have is deployed with very large retailers, but there's just too many stores in the world for us to deploy them all. So of course, we'll want others, let's say competitors of the solution that we built for in-store analysis to integrate with the Universal Reward Protocol, because there's a lot of space for everyone here. For example, we've already tried, it works well for some shopping centers to, instead of deploying our own IoT infrastructure, just using the existing Cisco access points that are already deployed. And Cisco is a huge company that deployed hardware in tens of thousands of stores across the planet. And the ability, for example, to collect data using this existing infrastructure is very powerful. And we know there are other solutions that manage to do that as well. And so a big part of developing the protocol is actually going to be for us to enable these solutions to integrate very easily with the protocol. So they have their own data collection means, like their own IoT infrastructure, or, for example, for a mobile application, their own SDK to collect the data. But developing the protocol, what we're doing currently, building the prototype, is actually specifying exactly the rules about the data format, for example, that the DApp needs to send to the smart contract to trigger the rewarding, and what rules of production of this proof of behavior you have to follow to be URP compliant. So that's what we're developing right now. And then part of our work is going to have to find, I think in the first phase, it's the beginning of the curve, let's say, we'll have to find the first solutions and integrate them, help them integrate with the protocol. And then once it gets big enough, I think a lot of decentralized application will be happy to have an additional stream of revenue by using the protocol.
So what are the types of behaviors that you found that consumers don't like doing, and which types of behaviors have you found that consumers are more likely to engage in the data that you've gathered so far? And maybe talk about also the areas where your solution is currently deployed. And we can save that maybe for another question, but maybe first talk about the types of behaviors, and then we can talk about the areas where your platform is currently deployed.
So the types of behavior that we observe, so currently the solution is more in a passive way, more observing the behaviors and trying to modify them. But what we observe is there's several types of shoppers. There's basically the very efficient ones that already know what they're coming to do, and they don't want to be disturbed. They don't want to make detours or lose time. There's on the other end of the spectrum, the browser, the person that just happened to walk in and is just browsing around in the store and is really willing to engage with the products and spend a little bit of time. And in the middle, say, there's a whole spectrum, but you can generally divide people into these broad categories. Obviously, the better target is the browser, the person that's actually willing to be engaged with and to try to improve their shopping experience. Whereas the very efficient one just want to get their stuff done. We've installed a solution in several types of stores, like clothing, premium clothes, let's say shopping centers, one in the middle of in the center of Paris. And what's interesting there is that the product categories are very segregated. There's a part of the store for men, it's the first two floors. There's the women, kids, and we see shopping trips where the person obviously comes to buy, for example, lingerie, but they still spend 20 minutes looking at the handbags that are next to it. And that's also how these stores are built. They're built with this in mind, trying to get people to make a detour and look at the handbag on the way to buying a bra. But what we're doing is trying to help retailers stress this, improve this thing by incentivizing people to do that. They will still be able to do that on their own, but we're giving them an additional incentive to do so.
And you communicate these tasks to the user through a mobile application, and then the mobile application contains, let's say I'm going to the local shopping mall and I decide I'm going to open my application. I have your app installed and it shows various stores within the mall which are offering rewards, or how will that work from the end user's perspective once they're in the ecosystem? How do they learn about which rewards are available and what changes they need to, or what behavior changes they need to take in order to get rewards?
Okay, so from the shopper's perspective, it's indeed a mobile application where they have a kind of a stream of campaigns that they can sort by brand, by most recent, by most reward, by geography, etc. Obviously, we're in a very privacy-friendly approach to this problem. So by default, the person doesn't have to tell us anything about them, neither their geolocation, their age, their gender, etc. But if they don't give us anything, then it's going to be really hard for us to filter through the campaigns to try to display only the most relevant campaigns for them. So they'll have more work looking for the right campaign. And if they do give us some details about their preferences, then we can, from the get-go, only display campaigns that are relevant to them. And it will also learn from the interaction with the user. For example, if I saw that a month ago you consented to a Macy's campaign, then I'm more likely to display the newest Macy campaign than I am for several others that you declined to consent to. So, of course, there's a user interface and user experience challenge to being able to filter out the non-relevant campaigns so that you only see campaigns you're likely to consent to. But I think, as I said, the default setting is we don't ask people to tell us anything, and then we'll only learn from their interactions with the app. And if they choose to make the task easier, then it's all the better for them. And this data only stays in the app. We don't upload it to the cloud. It's just the filtering will be done on the device.
And what's the strategy for onboarding new stores and expanding the number of participating retailers?
That's one reason that we have that our board of advisors is the way it is. We have one person that's the former head of innovation at a very large retailer. It's actually a galaxy of retailers that span hypermarket, but also sports, specialized retail, a lot of stuff. And we have another advisor that works at a very large food company. So obviously our primary targets will be to try and tackle these clients first. We're already talking with a lot of brands. We've been talking a lot about stores and retailers, but brands are a very good target for URP too. Because currently, like a brand like Nike, they have a few stores in the world, but very few. And mostly they can't interact with you directly. Only the retailer that sells the Nike shoes interacts with you. And Nike has a lot of trouble knowing who you are as a consumer. And the ability for them to get a channel like URP where they can directly interact and engage with shoppers is very appealing. And so we are entering these talks with the brands and the retailers. Our objective is to sign pilots for the end of the year. So we're currently building the prototype. We want to conduct pilots on the testnet starting around Christmas of this year and do that for about 6 months before the launch. So we have a lot of feedback in terms of security, in terms of UI, what people like and don't like, and what the brands really want to use the product for before we actually launch. So that's going to be our strategy for the early adopters. And then what we think is that it's mostly about attracting shoppers we get a few brands and retailers, attracting a massive number of shoppers with the promise of a universal point that can be redeemed or cashed out. And then all the different brands and retailers will basically flood the crowd towards the audience.
So, Louis, what stage of development is the platform currently in? When did you guys start working on this project?
We started working on it almost a year ago now. Started thinking about like the state of the retail industry and this lack of personalization. Then we thought about how blockchain could be a really good tool to tackle that. And we actually really, I think the inception of the URP idea was about 9 months ago. And now the stage of development is we actually produced our white paper last month. We're currently working on a technical white paper. We've got technical partnership with Consensus to develop an MVP of the solution. So our objective is to produce a technical white paper by mid-July, and then a demo of the protocol and the interfaces of the protocol by the end of the summer before the crowd sale begins. And then move on from that MVP to an actual pilot on the testnet with different brands and retailers. So our roadmap is basically a technical white paper next month, then the demo in 2 to 3 months, the first pilots in 6 months, and then the launch in a year. It's going to be intense.
So at what stage is the crowd sale taking place in that roadmap? So technical, white paper.
After the release of the demo, basically we're currently in the private sale. So we're collecting funds to finance. It's the beginning of the ICO basically, but before the crowd sale, which is in September, I want to be able to show people how it works and not only have a technical white paper. And so that's also why we partner with Consensus to give us the additional capacity to really develop this MVP well and fast, and to be able to give people something that they can actually play with, even if it's not actual rewarding. Like they probably won't be able to walk into a store in August. That will probably have to end for the end of the year. But we'll have the code available showing how decentralized applications can connect to the protocol. And the demo will already be connected to one app, which will be the Oxy solution that we developed that works in stores.
And where do you see this platform, not in the short term, as we've been discussing, but in a more longer term view of, let's say, 5 or 10 years? Can you tell us what the vision looks like to you of how the platform will evolve and what the longer term goals are?
Sure. So our vision is for Universal Reward Protocol to become the overarching infrastructure for interaction between brands and shoppers. So currently a lot of that happens inside loyalty programs. A lot of that happens through branded campaigns distributed through the data platforms like Facebook and Google. And we think that in the future, shoppers are going to want to interact with the brands that they choose to interact with, share data with them in exchange for a more personalized and more fluid shopping experience. And we would like to have URP become the platform where people go to personalize their shopping experience and to share data with the entities they like.
So my guest on the show today has been Louis Millon. Louis, it was a pleasure speaking with you, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon. And we'd love to have you back on the show after your next release. And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. It was a pleasure. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Bounty Zero X podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast below. check out bountyzerox.io, the number one bounty hunting platform where you can complete work and earn cryptocurrency. Please consult your professional financial investment and tax advisors before making any investment in initial coin offerings. Bounty Zero X does not provide investment or financial advice and does not endorse or recommend investment in any ICOs advertised on the Bounty Zero X podcast or website.